Tonight on Joy News, prime controversy as emerges the antigen test being used to screen passengers arriving at the Kotoka International Airport may indeed not be as effective in detecting COVID-19 as claimed by the Food and Drugs Authority.
Therefore, sensitivity, how accurate can the machine detect?
Okay.
If SARS-CoV-2 is present, that one is also 99%. So for a device to be qualified and approved and be put on the market, it has to meet this acceptance criteria.
Public Accounts Committee Chairman calls on the Special Prosecutor to fast-track investigations into the alleged sale of contracts by the suspended CEO of the Public Procurement Authority.
Continuous delay in this type of issues doesn't give any good image about the institutions involved and government itself.
Civil society organizations opposed to Japaminor royalties deal meet Finance Ministry. We'll get details of that meeting. And in business,
telecoms giant MTN expresses concern that its growth could be impacted negatively if the NCA goes ahead to dilute its market position. How are investors reacting?
If the Ghana Stock Exchange were to be an efficient market like the London Stock Exchange, then we could have seen a significant impact.
And later in this bulletin, the minority asked police to step up its game and prosecute persons who allegedly assaulted Ododo Diodio MP Nilante Vanderpoy. Daisha Ibrahim, the news is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimle here in Accra, on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on Go TV channel 144, DSTV channel 421. Many thanks for choosing us. The Food and Drugs Authority has defended its validation of the test kit currently being used to screen for COVID-19 in passengers arriving in Ghana following the opening of the Kotoka International Airport to commercial flights. It follows concerns that kits may not be as effective in identifying persons with the virus as gold standard PCR tests. There have also been concerns that anything less effective than the PCR test should not cost as much as $150 being charged the passengers. Dr. Kofi Mole is lead virologist at the Noguchi Memorial Institute.
I don't know what they are doing, but I know about between $10 to about $20 for one test. Yeah.
But we are told that it's costing about $150. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Well, maybe so many other things come. If you are buying the kit itself, maybe I'm sure they are charging administrative and also maybe the personal protective equipment and all that they are using. They will factor it in. Scientifically, the PCR test within 72 hours is enough. I don't know why we have to do an antigen test, which is less sensitive upon arrival. If you look at the tests that have been done over the years, we have a varying sensitivity percentage between 34 to around 80%. So if you are looking at these figures, that means about half of the people who will take antigen tests, the results may not be correct. No, about between $10 to about $20 for one test. Yeah.
But we are told that it's costing about $150. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Well, maybe so many other things come. If you are buying the kit itself, maybe I'm sure they are charging administrative and also maybe the personal protective equipment and all that.
The FDA, in a statement, however, vouched for the efficacy of the test kits. Head of its Laboratory Service Department, Kakari Boateng, explains that the device being used at the airport is not a rapid diagnostic test kit, as has been suggested.
Since March up to date, we have tested this RDT device and this rapid diagnostic test kit. And the sensitivity we told you ranges from 4 to 62. That is why the FDA in its wisdom has never approved any antigen or antibody rapid diagnostic test kit for the detection of the SARS-CoV-2 virus.
Okay.
Yeah, that is clear in our statement. So if you read it, you see.
Yes.
Then you are now talking about the immunofluorescence. Yes, this is the first device that we have approved here, but there are subsequent devices that are still going through the process. And it has also been approved by other stringent regulatory authorities as stated in our statement. And on our website, the guidelines for devices are there. The gold standard is PCR because now there's no international reference antibody or antigens available. So it is compared to a PCR, which is the gold standard now. And we tell you that specificity the machine should be specific that if you have SARS-CoV-2, it should tell you that SARS-CoV-2 and not any other viral disease.
Okay.
That one we say it should not be less than 99.0%. It's in our release, it's on our website. Then for sensitivity, how accurate can the machine detect if SARS-CoV-2 is present? That one is also 99%. So for a device to be qualified and approved and be put on the market, it has to meet this acceptance criteria.
All right.
And this was what was done.
Mr. Boateng had indicated the FDA only approved the kit because it approved to be highly effective with sensitivity of 99.9%. He also gave the brand of the kit as efficacy. Joy News checks from the website of the company shows the manufacturer's sensitivity claim is not up to the FDA's own benchmark. Joining us via Zoom now is an immunologist with the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, Dr. Bediako, who has been following the conversation about the test kits in question for a while now. Thank you, Mr. Bediako, and welcome to Joy News Prime.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Bediako, yes, so you earlier on said you were going to check the kit that is currently being used and check its efficacy. Our checks with the manufacturer, however, indicate a sensitivity below what the FDA specified. Will it be accurate to say it doesn't meet the FDA's own standard?
Well, I mean, I think that question actually has two answers. So yes, I mean, I can see from the screen that the document you are showing is, I believe, is a brochure. It appears that in that document that you indicated to me that the sensitivity, I think, was listed as 87.5. That is in line, I would point out, with sort of what many of us scientists would expect for an antigen kit. As I think in your clip, Dr. Boni said, between 30 to 80% for antigen kits. He was not referring in that case to SARS antigen. He was just saying in general for majority of the antigen kits that are available. And I'll point out that this technology is not new. So it's new. SARS-CoV-2 is a novel virus. So we've been working to develop new kits and new technologies, new ways to detect this virus. But PCR, antigen kits, antibody kits have all been around for a long time. And so for majority of antigen kits, you'd expect close to 80%. So this manufacturer, I believe in this, is claiming that it's around 87.5 sensitivity compared to PCR. So you can see clearly that the manufacturer is saying that this is inferior to some extent compared to PCR. So this number does appear to contradict to some extent what the Ghana FDA is reporting. Now, I would assume that the Ghana FDA themselves have conducted their own validation studies. So perhaps in their hands, in their validation studies, they got a much higher sensitivity for the device. But typically manufacturers are known to put their best foot forward. After all, they want to sell their device. So it's a little unusual, certainly, for the manufacturer's listed sensitivity to be lower than what the regulatory body has found.
Doc, having verified this, what then would you say are the implications of using this device?
Well, I mean, with any device, any test, there's always a limit of detection. I believe I was on your channel, your program earlier in the day with Mr. Boateng himself. And we both agreed that, limits of detection, every kit has a limit of detection. And so when you are choosing a kit for a particular purpose, you have to ask yourself, what are we going to use that kit for? So basically, a sensitivity of 99% means that 1 out of every 100 positive cases will be undetected. Now, a sensitivity of 87.5 means 13 people or 12 people out of every 100 who are positive will be undetected. And I believe it is not for me really to decide which is acceptable. It is for the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, to decide what is an acceptable limit. Obviously, PCR tests cost more and take longer. The advantage of these antigen kits is that they are faster and can be deployed in a setting of an airport more easily. But the question then is, do we accept the trade-off for sensitivity? Of course, all these people coming in already have a negative PCR test. So the question then is, maybe the risk is low enough that we do not think that we need a very sensitive test. On the flip side, these people already have a negative PCR test. So if we are to capture anybody who has turned positive between their PCR test and now, we need a very, very sensitive test. So I think these are the questions that need to be more clearly answered. Certainly the discrepancy between the 99 and the 87, that I assume that the FDA probably has some data to provide answers for that. That is not for me to say. The manufacturer says one thing, FDA has their data. It would be nice to see some more agreement between those numbers.
Certainly.
But in terms of accepting a threshold, that is for the Ministry of Health to decide.
We'll seek clarification from Ministry of Health. I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Yabediakon is a immunologist with the West Africa Center for Infectious Pathogens. The Health Facilities Regulatory Agency is asking Ghanaians to patronize only licensed healthcare facilities in the country. Registrar of the agency, Dr. Philip Albano, explains this will help monitor healthcare delivery at these facilities. He spoke to Joy News after HEFRA received about 165 thermometer guns from NGO Club UK as part of efforts to help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
The next thing I want to appeal to the public that may be listening to this is that Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, when you visit any place to obtain care, please look for our license on the wall. Our license ensures that that facility is adhering to the standards in healthcare delivery. And if we all demand when we visit, we will help raise the quality of healthcare delivery in the nation. So I hope that, or this is my sincerest belief, that others will emulate what you've done and then donate to help the larger Ghanaian community. So I'm very grateful to our board chairman and also our donors, the Club UK here in Ghana. In fact, COVID-19 has affected everything. First, we had to pause what we were doing and make sure that we gave appropriate training to all staff, since in effect we're part of the frontline health workers because we go to health facilities. So we gave that training. Then there was a directive that we have to decongest the facilities here in the office, so only shift basis. Because of that, we had a decrease in number of staff who had to go around the country to do the various inspections and monitoring for us. But in spite of that, we are about 50% of our target. And we hope that now with the gradual lifting of restrictions and movement, we might be able to catch up and maybe even finish around 75% of our target for the remainder of the year.
Executive member of the Club UK, Sam Entry, says a donation is in response to the President's call to help reduce the spread of COVID-19.
Well, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, we more or less took up the clarion call from the President, you know, and again, because of the fact that you wanted to have a large impact, you know, because of the fact that a lot of people have lived in the UK, they feel that when we took up something like the thermostat, it will reach out and everybody will have a feel that, yes, my region more or less benefited from the contributions to the COVID-19. This is certainly the start, you know, as the battle or as the war on COVID-19, you know, is on, and hopefully we are winning, but where we need to step in again, you know, to lift our game, to be able to deal with more sort of help or assistance. I'm sure our members will be very happy to do something else.
Chairman of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, James Kluje Aveji, is calling on the Office of the Special Prosecutor in charge to speed up investigations into the alleged sale of contracts by CEO of Public Procurement Authority, Ejenim Boateng Eje. In August last year, a documentary by investigative journalist Manasseh Azura-Wine revealed the CEO formed a company, Talent Discovery Limited, in 2017 after his appointment as head of the authority. The company, after winning contracts through restrictive tendering processes, allegedly sold them to the highest bidder. President Akufo-Addo directed the suspension of the CEO after the broadcast of that documentary and referred the case to Traj and the OSP for investigation. More than a year on, the outcome of the investigation is yet to be made public. When officials of the authority appeared before Parliament's Public Accounts Committee Wednesday morning to respond to audit queries in 2017 Auditor General's report, they were led by Acting CEO Frank Mante. James Aveji told Joy News after the sitting the delay in completing the investigation is negatively impacting confidence in the institution.
Has been accused of doing the wrong thing, and that civil servant agreeing to refund the money. And I said that is not the first time, because we have a number of times recommended for civil servants who have embezzled public funds to refund the money, even with interest. So the CEO was using the provision of the Act. I think I say Section 30 of the Act, where the civil servant or the former CEO was accused of doing the wrong thing, and he has accepted. That is what we call negotiated terms or something like that. So that was just pointing it to him that that is not the first time. So you should not say that for the first time. And
that's regular practice. It happens.
It happens,
and it's not out of place.
No, it's not out of place, because it's something that has been negotiated. Probably, I'm not sure that the 15 million that he was asked to pay was what the exact amount which was he took. He took far less than that, because the interest was accrued on it. So it's like paying the principal with the accrued interest.
Which for you is enough punishment?
It's enough punishment, yes.
You're asking about the whereabouts of the CEO of the Public Procurement Authority when they came in. Were you satisfied with the response that you got?
Yeah, because he says that he's under investigation. That is why he is, the current one is an acting CEO of the Public Procurement Authority. I think that it was a public information some time back when the CEO was involved in some kind of procurement, sale of contracts, documented by him. So that is why he was asked to step aside for investigation. So the answer provided by the current CEO, current acting CEO, is in order. It confirms what we heard in the public. I asked it purposely because just to confirm that what we've been hearing in the public domain, on the social media, in the news, is actually true. So he has confirmed.
It's been almost a year. If my memory serves me right, this incident was about 7-8 months ago. To the extent that the investigation is still ongoing, he's still on suspension, no conclusive decision has been taken. Is that good enough?
I'm not sure it's good enough. We think within a year or within six months, they should be able to conclude the investigation. But I don't know how the issues involved are. So in a normal case, it should be an investigation that should be done within the shortest possible time. But it's over a year now, because if you look at the time that the current acting CEO was asked to take over, he took over in July 2019. We're in September 2020, so it's over a year. So we should be expecting the outcome of that investigation, so that if there is a need for the CEO who was accused of to be set free or prosecuted, we should be hearing that for now.
How does that affect the stability and the management of the institution if some of these investigations are lingering on for such a lengthy period, and even the integrity of the people and the integrity of the organization at the level of the PPA, which is supposed to supervise procurement contracts? And in this case, there was an alleged sale of contract by the PPA. How does
it doesn't give any good image of the organization, because people will still be thinking that this organization, who is supposed to manage the procurement, itself is involved in the sale of contract documents. So if that issue still linger on without clearing the air, people might not have confidence in the work of that organization.
And so to come in this bulletin, the minority asked the police to step up its game and prosecute persons who allegedly assaulted the Dododio MP Nilante van der Poel. We'll take a break on Joy News Prime. When we return, there is more. And on your election headquarters, the minority in parliament is calling on the police to up its game and speedily prosecute thugs in the Dododio constituency who allegedly assaulted NDC MP for the area, Nilante van der Poel. Deputy Minority Leader James Kluche-Aveji says members of the governing party are behind the attacks. This is the second such attack on an MP in the last 3 months. In July, MP for Jurassic Dumasi Mohammed Bawa Brahima was also allegedly assaulted during the voter registration exercise. Mr. Aveji says it's about time strong signals are sent to those attacking the NDC MPs to stop.
Definitely, we should be worried. And a member of parliament is assaulted. Why should a member of parliament be assaulted? What is the crime? What is the offense of the member of parliament that he should be assaulted? He is a people's representative. If you assault him in his constituency, if you also want to, if you get to know the people who assault him, he also want to retaliate, what will happen? There's going to be this fight here and there. So that it's not proper to assault a member of parliament. In fact, it's not proper to assault anybody at all, because Ghana is a peaceful country. We urge the police to up their game so that the people who assaulted the member should quickly be found out. They should be arrested and find out why they should assault a member of parliament and why anybody at all should be assaulted. It's not good for us as a country.
He indicated he will be writing to the Speaker in connection with this. At the level of the leadership of Parliament, are there any actions being taken to ensure that some of these things don't take place?
We are waiting to hear full briefing from the member concerned. Then we'll give the appropriate advice on what the member should do. So as we speak now, we do not have that opportunity to meet the member for briefing. So once that is done, the member will take an action. And one of them actually is to write to the Speaker of Parliament for the concern of the leadership of the minority and the concern of the member himself.
Attention is being drawn to it that this is like the second incident in about 3 or 4 months. The first one involved the Jurassic Dumasi MP Brahima. What could be done to stop some of these situations once and for all to ensure adequate protection for members of parliament as they go around their constituencies doing their duties as the people should?
Now, I think that we should send strong signal to those people who are doing that. And you will see clearly that the assault or the issue is affecting members of parliament from the minority. It means that the first suspect should be members of the government party, the members of the government party who are the first suspect. Because if you are attacking members of parliament and these members of parliament are coming from only the minority, you think that there are some people behind that even if I'm arrested, I'll be cleared. So they have some power behind them.
Security and political analysts have called on the country's security agencies to clamp down speedily on perpetrators of violence ahead of the December elections. It comes after police failed to arrest anyone involved in the assault of Member of Parliament for Dododio Nilante van der Poel, even though it happened right in front of a police station. Mr. van der Poel, who has served notice he will report the matter to the Speaker of Parliament, claims the perpetrators' identities are known. Security analyst Adam Bona is worried lessons have not been learned from the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election violence. He spoke on the AM show.
Someone would have to act quickly, and I'm happy you have Sheikh on the other side of the line, especially he being a clergy. He belongs to those we would have to fall on when issues are getting out of hand. because then whether you like it or not, the churches and the mosques are going to be open. People listen to people like him and the chief imam and, the Christian council and all that. I think that some form of dialogue would have to start if it hasn't started. And the security agencies would have to act. Now, I listened to Honorable Neil van der Poel, I think, on, this morning, and I think last night I listened to him talking, and you can see that he's in pain. And as to whether these people have been arrested, and if they haven't been arrested, then that will not be deterring enough, because then we have just about less than 100 days to the general elections, both parliamentary and presidential. If these things are not done, ensuring that people are punished when they take the laws into their own hands, then we are going to see probably an increase with regards to violence when we get to the polls. And that area, there are few things the police would have to do. But the security task force, places like that have always been in the news when it comes to elections and electoral violence. Let's put those places under siege. Let's ensure that we have, heavy presence of the police, the, security task force, who would have to ensure that the place is properly protected. If not, I can say I'm not being a prophet of doom, but what I've heard from the people, some of them who have called me, means that they are preparing probably for a battle in that area, which for me is not the way we should go as a nation. It's just going to the polls and casting a ballot.
Earlier, my colleague Manuel Quarantine returned to Jamestown, where the incident occurred, and spoke with some residents.
The way I feel politics be different. I feel a part. Okay, Mokoina, and Qualipo alone, envy. Got to I Mokodi because the way now me feel politics be different, because me no ni happy can kebwake in share embe mi share because makambe mi share mini o any fake mona here onuji me no ma we na because let's start
okay, let's start
4 years ago bele they start lene yana jiji me gani bi ni mene use ka yi me no ni feel na gani bi no lene start come in about Benny million about you need a tebanama a isola be an energy former in assembly my your police station no onushi amana yi esla gani be onushi no less that's no ona get bogame you want to get twatete I get twatete onushi me in bemishe I can only happen sane happy esa na gano go happen she boje na gangbe onushi no jena gangbe ba chano.
And he's telling me that he's not happy with the incident that went down yesterday in relation to the MP. But he alleges that all this started from the MP himself. He mentions 2012 and says that the MP had arranged for boys to go and attack the Esilly Owusu. Also mentions that in 2016, the current parliamentary candidate of the NPP, Nilanti Bannerman, was also assaulted by the sitting MP, Nilanti van der Poel. And so for him, what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. And so Nilanti van der Poel, according to the gentleman I'm speaking to, called this upon himself.
Because kaji mbuku ni ogele pan gbe no eto ashi bo wa yile alo wa take advantage eno afi no le begwen na kan
si nakamaje ni be no happy o yi o ka ke nke bu pan gbe no beto aka wa yibo
sometimes say if you want more revenge ona ekole mugwe fe bonugo o boni bona advantage bo afi leku no meji no ni kena gamajani bieba ona kaji so asini wo denjo wo ngage kaji onyemi go tono ona je no twa shi bo kaji bo ona chance bo o afi leku ona no le yin.
It's a matter of, revenge and reprisals, so that if somebody wrongs people, then when they get to their advantage, they also want to return the favor. And he's calling that these acts, be abandoned by the perpetrators.
We'll take a break on Joy News. When we return, there is business.
It's time to bring you some business news. My name is Daryl Kwao. Telecoms giant MTN is warning that moves by the regulator, National Communications Authority, to dilute its market position will seriously impact on its growth. The National Communications Authority will, in the coming weeks, implement new regulations aimed at checking MTN's market dominance. This was after an Accra High Court shut down a judicial review request by MTN on its market dominance tag. George Rafe has the rest of the story.
The court, presided over by Justice J.R. Siedu, argued that the review was dismissed because there was sufficient evidence that the necessary consultation was done by the regulator before the action was taken. The court also argued that the National Communications Authority did not act contrary to the law when it declared MTN as a dominant player in the telecom space. The judge, however, maintained that MTN still has an opportunity to engage the National Communications Authority on these regulations and how it should be implemented. MTN, on the other hand, per the application, was seeking to challenge the move by the regulator after he was declared as a dominant player because he has more than 40% stake in all markets that he operates. In the court application secured by Joy Business, MTN was of the view that the declaration by the National Communications Authority was done in breach of their right to be heard in violation of procedure of fairness. But the National Communications Authority, on the other hand, maintained that there had been significant engagement with MTN on this issue since 2016. Unless MTN is able to fast-track the process to halt the implementation of this ruling by appealing, then the National Communications Authority can go ahead and take actions to check the MTN's monopoly tag. This, analysts say, could negatively affect some service offerings by the telecoms giant. The telecoms operator itself, on the other hand, says going ahead with this move could seriously affect some critical services that it offers to the public as well as its profits. Joy Business understands that the National Communications Authority is in the process of finalizing these regulations that is expected to be implemented very soon. Some industry analysts have also argued that going ahead to implement this move by the regulator may affect future investments into the telecom space.
Well, stock market watcher Bertha Tubiga has been monitoring reaction on the stock market so far.
Lately, I would say no, because we haven't seen the millions of shares that we usually see trading in MTN on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And I would say this is the case because the Ghana Stock Exchange is not as efficient as other markets that respond swiftly to information like what we see right now with the National Communications Authority. So if the Ghana Stock Exchange were to be an efficient market like the London Stock Exchange, then we could have seen a significant impact on the price of the equity and even its movement and even volumes on the stock market. But that is not the case on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
Now, a revised law promulgated by the Energy Commission will give it power to take legal action against any shipping line that accepts inefficient refrigerators and electrical appliances that are substandard. This new move by the Commission is to rid the market of such products. Here's Ebenezer Sabute's report.
The Energy Commission is seeking to review the law prohibiting the importation of second-hand and substandard electrical equipment, especially refrigerators, into the country. The new law is aimed at making the country move from the current 5 stars being the most efficient to 7 stars. At the stakeholders' engagement with some traders as well as port and shipping line owners, Head of Energy Efficiency and Climate Change at the Energy Commission, Kofi Jako, hinted that shipping lines are part of the process to ensure that such products do not enter the country.
We have chosen to go by the seizures. But thanks for asking. In fact, as a prelude to the coming into effect of this new law, we are going to test that one and see how it comes up. Ever since you are going to start prosecuting. Exactly. Ever since this law came into enforcement, and in 2013, 1st July, we have not tested the law. This time around, we want to test it as a prelude to coming into effect of the revised one, because the revised one should a shipping line decide not to comply, will have to resort to the court. So we want to test it for now and see how
it comes out.
Executive Secretary of the Ghana Ship Owners and Agents Association, Perpetual Osei-Bonsu, on her part, asked for more engagement on the law to ensure smooth enforcement.
They want to introduce some changes, so we have to get back and with Energy Commission look at the roles, their proposals, how it fits into our businesses, and then we'll see how we can cooperate, because like you said, there's been collaboration between us since the first legislation came into force, and I don't see why it should change. But then all the changes they want to implement must be discussed and see we come to an understanding as to the way forward.
Ghana could be making huge savings in power when the law takes effect.
And we'll have much more business news in the next hour of this program. Up next, sports with Gary R. Smith.
On Joy News Prime, Gary R. Smith here with the sport. In our top story, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has dismissed Wilfred Kweku-Osei's appeal contesting the decision of the election committee to disqualify him from last year's presidential elections. The Court of Arbitration for Sport said the election committee had grounds over his comments that Ghana should have made indemnity payments to qualify for Russia 2018.
The CAS panel, in their full arbitral award sent to both parties, indicated that the decision of the elections committee to disqualify Wilfred Osei Kweku based on comments made in November 2017 about Ghana's failure to qualify for the 2018 FIFA World Cup is well grounded. They say a person desiring to represent the GFA as president should be of irreproachable behavior and be of the high spectrum of norms and values, including full integrity. Palmer had mentioned on radio that the decision of government to withdraw part of the GFA's budget meant for unclassified and indemnity payments was one of the reasons why Ghana failed to qualify for Russia 2018. According to him, if Ghana had paid 300,000 euros and get 8 million euros from the World Cup, he saw nothing wrong with that. But CAS upheld the decision of the elections committee, insisting that the decision of the GFA ethics committee not to punish him because they didn't consider his comments veracious enough to merit any sanction does not validate integrity questions. Palmer had also mentioned that some members of the vetting committee, notably Frank Davis and Emmanuel Dakwa, were of conflict of interest because the law firm of Frank Davis had written to him to pay 10% for the transfer of his player Joseph Pinsel to KRC Genk. Palmer said his refusal to pay the money to the GFA was one of the reasons why he was disqualified from the elections. He noted that some members of the panel were in conflict of interest and showed bias towards him. The CAS panel said Palmer waived his right to raise an objection about the composition of the vetting committee because he was given an opportunity to do so. The CAS panel, however, stated that disqualifying Palmer based on his failure to pay 10% to the GFA did not merit disqualification. However, they said not honoring a debt of a club towards a national federation may be in conflict of interest with the aspiration to become president of the same federation. Based on this, the panel concluded it would be unnecessary to consider any of the requests he submitted to the World Apex Sports Adjudicatory Body. Palmer paid over $44,000, which included the arbitration cost of the GFA for the case to be heard. The panel concluded that each party shall bear its own cost. This means that the GFA would pay Palmer about $22,000 for their cost he paid for.
Aside all the money, there was some reaction, but first, let's let you see what Palmer said in 2017 that has cost him 3 years later. On our Instagram, this was trending because we got that bit again. This was a statement he made on radio. He said it on a couple of radio stations, including Inshira FM. He said when he was asked about why Ghana didn't qualify for the World Cup, if we had spent around $300,000 on referees and stood to benefit about $8 million by appearing at the World Cup, I see nothing wrong with it, which suggested, of course, that probably Ghana should have, tried to pay the referees to be a bit soft on the Black Stars as well. Now, let's go to the reaction after the verdict. This is the lawyer for the GFA. She spoke on radio today, and she was answering the big question that everybody has been asking. Will Palmer be able to stand for an election now that he has lost this one? She says that if he gets a good counsel like her, they could argue his case so that he's able to pass whatever integrity test they put in place. And she says it is possible. All right, in our next story. Now, yesterday at the Congress, 26th Ordinary Congress, the GFA president called on members to reject those who tarnish the image of football. Now, this admonishment has been described as an attempt to gag critics, but he insists it's just an appeal and not a threat.
The GFA president, speaking on the floor of Congress on Tuesday, called on members to reject those who speak ill about the leadership and the governance of Ghana football. According to him, a corporate Ghana would not like to associate themselves with the brand football if such members are not rejected. However, speaking to the media after the Congress, Keto Kraku said it was not an attempt to gag members from expressing divergent opinions.
I'm not trying to gag my colleagues. I'm not trying to gag my colleagues in the media as well. What I have said is that let's always, at all times, think Ghana football. Okay, we are one family. We may be different in opinions on how we think that the game must be administered, but at the end, we are the same people who have appointed or given opportunity to some of us to lead the family. Okay, so yes, you may have divergent views, but we have good platforms that we can share our divergent views. A typical example being the Congress of the Football Association. So I'm saying that, look, yes, let's keep to our divergent views, but let's hold on to occasions like this where, as a group, we come together and we dissect our football business and then speak about issues that affect us in common, and then find very good solutions to our problems. Okay, we shouldn't resort to the public space.
Kurt believes that when there's positivity surrounding the product Ghana football, corporate bodies will be interested in investing in the game of football. He believes in the next 2-3 years, Ghana football will be great.
Building a product is not easy, okay? We'll go through challenges, but when we believe that ultimately we want to position Ghana football in a certain light, we'll always be positive. And you could see that in the beginning of the season, when we were very positive, it affected every facet of the football. I mean, attendances started to come up, media people were interested, corporate Ghana started becoming more interested, and then boom, we had the COVID. So,
Ketu Kraku, ending the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. I'll be back on the other side with more.
Time now for showbiz. Becky's here with the very latest. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So let's start with Kofi Mole. You know that earlier this year he predicted that he was going to win the hip hop song of the year with his song Don't Be Late, and boom, it's a miracle.
He did.
So we put something together for you.
Shout outs to all the Comericans. And congratulations to Kofi Mole.
Congratulations to Kofi. So another Comerican, Akwabwa. Yeah, he's John Legend in Comerica. So Akwabwa has been telling us about how he, goes, he's a very good stage performer. So we asked Akwabwa, what does it take to be a very good stage performer?
Those wonderful performances.
Here's Akwabwa.
I know that before I get on stage, the whole day I might eat, but I won't want to eat something that's oily. Yes, because oil kind of slows your singing. So that day I might take anything, but not something oil. Or if I should do that, it has to be in the morning, and then 4 hours before time of singing, I don't take enough water. I rehearse at home before coming. So I get ready before I come here. It's just, the voice is an instrument. You get it? And so if you have to use it well, then it has to be trained too.
So you have
to train your voice if you want to.
And you don't eat oily food.
I'm supposed to be producing you, so that advice is for you.
Before you come on air, I'll be checking that from now onwards.
I hear you. But you remember the song? If you're any So that was a song by Akwabwa Senior.
Yes.
And this is Akwabwa. Yeah. So they had a remix, and you should take a listen to this. I put you in the mood. I love you too,
Aisha. Did that, and that'll be it for sure. Traders at Tama Industrial Market are kicking against a decision by city authorities to allow a private developer to put up structures close to the Mankwaze roundabouts. They say releasing the land to the developer defeats its purpose of serving as a green belt. According to them, they don't understand why authorities have restricted them from extending the business to the very place it intends giving out to the private developer. There is more in the following report.
The traders, clad in red, fear developing additional structures apart from current bus terminal poses risk to their safety and businesses. According to them, the land serves as buffer zone in the event of an emergency and as well as road reservation. The angry traders embarked on their protest in the presence of heavy security personnel. They demanded that the Tema Metropolitan Assembly abort its plan of allowing the private developer to develop the area.
From Harbour all the way to motorway roundabout, it's a green belt, 50 meters, reserved for a purpose. So, if you allow a Chinese or somebody to construct, to breach the rules of planned thing, after 50 years, after we are gone, and if the government wants to expand the road, is the government going to use hard-earned taxpayers' money to compensate?
China for baby shop free and some. I has some more Cassiana inside the hall. I'm tired. No one sound of Chinese for some women is also. I have been at the end of the day, so more Baba Jessica.
The chief executive of the TMA, Felix Ni Anangla, said the assembly will benefit enormously from the intended development.
We all know it's a road reservation, and number of road reservations has been given out, with some clauses in the agreement that anytime the government needs its land, it will be released. That is what I know. The man in question has all requisite documents concerning the land. And as we all know, the road reservations have become a dumping site for some people within the Tema Metro. And we cannot continue to allow the place to look like that. And because of that, we also have an agenda to beautify the whole area. Whatever we put there, whether it's a permanent structure or it's a temporary structure, we want it to beautify the area.
Kwame Yanke's report for Joy News.
Minister for Gender and Social Protection Cynthia Mamle Morrison says her ministry is in the process of providing havens for persons branded as witches after a tour of premises popularly branded as witches camps in regions in the northern part of the country. Her comments come after the brutal killing of 90-year-old Ekuya Dente and the assault of a 50-year-old woman at Sumpini in the Savannah region. She is proposing the creation of havens where such women would be given support to make their lives comfortable. She spoke at the Meet the Press series earlier on at the Information Ministry. Here are excerpts.
The only conclusion we have come to after even making the law is how to protect these innocent ones. A lot of them have refused to go home because of fear. Family have refused to also accept them. And where the family even wants to accept them, the society says no. If a daughter or a son follows the mother to the hospital when the mother is beaten up, or visits the mother in the camp where the mother is, the community refuses to accept that person back into the community because you have visited your witch, a mother who is a witch. It is a very dicey thing. What we are looking at is giving these wonderful elderly women a safe haven. What we are going to do is to renovate where they are, and some of them are integrated with the society. You go there and it is not a camp. There's a community living amongst the supposed witches. They go to the markets, they sell, they farm, they do everything. But the only thing is that they've been isolated from their families. They're thinking of giving them a better life. A lot of them tells us they are not on the leap, and that We are putting them on leave. Yesterday, I have to say it here, I cancelled their program because we want to save that money for our mothers in the camp. And they agreed with me. We clap for you. Even though they have not, clap for them. We are taking money from almost every part of our department. Social welfare, we are taking your money because it is even in your domain. Social protection, gender, Abena, you are giving, everybody is giving something. And then we'll come to Ministry of Information and get some monies. We add up and do something for them. We want to change their lifestyle and give them a better life.
Joy News' checks in Kumasi have revealed a Bibiani Lodging Limited project captured in the NPP's 2016 manifesto tracker as completed does not exist. Managers of the over 40-year original Bibiani Logging and Lumber Company Limited at Kasi say they've not received any support from government for any project on their premises. Meanwhile, a Unij garment company listed as completed at Asokwa, also in Kumasi, was found to be at the ground stage. Lava Firm's Rasta Sasaridonko has been finding out more.
Key among projects listed under Asokwa Municipal Assembly on the NPP's 2016 manifesto tracker is the completion of a wood product manufacturing company, Bibiani Logging Limited. We took a trip to the company's premises.
We have gone in there, we've spoken with management, and what we are being told is that there is no such project instituted by government here at the premises. What they tell me is that they put in an application for funds to restructure the company under the 1D, 1F, but then they have not received any response. And so they cannot say government has sponsored any project at all here at the Bibiani Logging Limited. They are surprised that it's captured under the government projects at the Asokwa Municipal. So as we speak, we can confirm that the government project listed under Asokwa Municipal Bibiani Logging Limited completed project does not exist.
Checks at the Asokwa Municipal Assembly showed Bibiani Logging Limited was not part of the list of projects submitted to Accra by the Assembly. Authorities say they do not know the source of the project on the tracker. Meanwhile, it was found that a Unij garment production company listed as completed was progressing from the ground stage. It was also learned that Unij Fashion's existing edifice was used as a requirement in qualifying for a prudential bank loan of 12 million Ghana cedis under the One District, One Factory initiative to complete the current project. Government is assisting with a payment of half of the 20% interest on the loan. Janet Abobigu is Chief Executive Officer for Unij Fashions.
When the government announced that One District, One Factory is coming, that time we also have this land. So we write our proposal to them and they understand us. So we send our proposal to our bank, which is Prudential Bank. So it's Prudential Bank who is financing the project. So the interest, the government is paying 10% and Unij is also paying 10%.
When completed, the two-story edifice is expected to increase employment from the 150 currently to 250. Personnel will be recruited, trained, and employed from the locality.
Garment industry is volumes, so you need a place that you get people who can come and work. And if you take like jute factory, brewery and other places, the people who were working there, they did not go. All of them are still in. So Kumasi Metro, like Asokwa Metro, there are a lot of people and the youth too are here. So that is why we built this here.
One major factor that will hinder progress of this government's flagship program 1D, 1F is this road network. In fact, it's the road leading from Ahinsang right through to the other end, but it truncates at the end of that road. It needs to be constructed for business to thrive. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
On your election headquarters, former President John Mahama is promising to give seed money to the Upper West Regional Hospital so it could operate at full capacity. The NDC flag bearer, who is continuing his 4-day campaign tour of the region, also pledged to upgrade WA from a municipality to metropolitan status. Mr. Mahama lamented that several projects started by his administration have now been abandoned by the governing NPP and assured the people he will complete those projects if re-elected in 2020. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam is on the campaign trail with the former president and reports from WA.
We were working on several things before we left office. If you go to UDS, there were several major projects we were working on. The new lecture theater, the students' hostel, the library, and all those things we were working on have come to a standstill since NDC left office. Before we left office, we built a state-of-the-art library here in WA in the Upper West region. Indeed, it is reputed to be one of the best libraries in the whole of Ghana. We upgraded the WA airstrip into an airport. We created arrival, departure, and flights started to come into WA. When we come, we're going to upgrade the airport further so that more people can use the aircraft to fly into the WA airport. I told my father, the Wana, that because we are working on the road to Hamile, when we come, we'll finish that road from Laura to Hamile. Most of the vehicles that are going to Mali and Bobo Dulaso will rather prefer to come through Wa and go through Hamile. And so because of that, we'll dualize the road from Bamaho all the way out of Wa so that the trucks can pass safely without facing any difficulty. If you look at the population of Wa today, there's no reason why WA should still be a municipal assembly. And so we upgrade WA to a metropolitan assembly. With all the development projects that come with a metropolitan assembly, so that it will be a befitting capital of the Upper West region.
Still on the opposition NDC, it is discounting claims that it is delaying the official launch of its manifesto for the purposes of plagiarizing ideas of the new patriotic party. It argues that the NPP and its recently launched manifesto will not influence the NDC in any way. Speaking exclusively to Joy News, the National Communications Officer Sami Jemfi, who described the NPP's manifesto as a collection of falsehoods, claimed that the NDC is still within its schedule and will present a people-driven manifesto.
We are within the party's 2020 campaign timetable, so it hasn't taken long at all. What needs to be done must be done well. Okay, we don't want to bring a manifesto which will be full of palpable falsehood, a manifesto which will be full of promises which simply don't make sense, like you saw in the NPP's 2020 manifesto, where they were promising to establish investment funds which already exist, you understand. And so the manifesto has been ready for more than a month, but the constitution of the NDC requires that some stakeholder consultations take place before the manifesto is launched. And that is why the statement which announced the 7th September date as a launch date for our People's Manifesto indicated that we have decided to reschedule the launch to 7th September to allow the Council of Elders of the party and the National Executive Committee to take a look at the manifesto, make their inputs before it is launched. So we are not late at all. We are within schedule, we are within time, and come Monday, 7th December, we will be presenting the People's Manifesto. We will be launching the People's Manifesto, for Ghanaians to appreciate its contents. But rest assured, you are going to see the far-reaching policies that have been announced by His Excellency President Mahama already, like the free primary health care policy. The NPP has never been a standard for the NDC. And so this is not going to be a manifesto which will be countering the NPP's manifesto. We have said that the NPP's manifesto is nothing but a compendium of recycled, broken promises. It is nothing but a compendium of blatant falsehoods, calculated for votes and not intended to be kept. They have flattered to deceive on 86% of their 2016 manifesto promises. 86%. Okay. And so they can never be a standard for the National Democratic Congress. We are coming with a manifesto which is full of hope, full of inspiration, full of far-reaching, well-thought-out transformational policies.
Away from the NDC, a group calling itself Concerned Youth of Ashanti is questioning the new patriotic party's claim of huge infrastructural achievements in the Ashanti region. This follows the release of a list of developmental achievements chalked by the present administration. According to the group, votes accrued by the president does not correspond to the level of development in the Ashanti region. Nanaya Ojima was at a press conference organized by the group and has filed this report.
Statistics show 75.9% of votes cast in the Ashanti region in 2016 was in favor of the ruling party. The group believes the ruling party has done little in terms of infrastructure for the people who voted in majority to give them power. In reference to the manifesto delivery tracker, the group argues the NPP's achievement is incomparable to the John Mahama-led government in the Ashanti region. Nana Ajenim Boateng leads the group.
It is our hope and prayer that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will also go and show to Asantehene and the good people of Ashanti Kingdom his project in the Ashanti region alone for barely 4 years as a president. Ladies and gentlemen, as a group who is determined to fight for the progress and development of Asante Mine, we hereby also challenge the good people in the Ashanti region to compare and contrast the kind of vote that are given out to the NPP and the kind of development we receive in an exchange whenever NPP was in power, and do same to NDC.
The group lists 44 huge capital projects the NDC administration initiated. Nana Boateng wants Ghanaians to consider all these, among others, in deciding who to vote for in the upcoming elections.
The concerned youth of Asante is not far right if we say MPP takes Asante Man for granted. This is because MPP only deceive Asante Man when they need votes and dump us when we cry for development. Because when you are in the city of Kumasi, when you talk about development, they will accuse you being an NDC member. So we don't deserve a development in Ashanti region. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now wise and can no longer be deceived.
For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Time now to hear the voice of the ordinary people on what policies will inform them in selecting their preferred candidates in the December polls. It's what we call voters' voice. Today, we took our microphones to the Kaneshi market. Listen to what the people have been saying.
Hospital P. Now, Loma woman. When I come over, Kawa honey 1 Anna, Kawa color 1 P. Nipi 1 Anna, 1 Bob, Wabia school, after the school affair, I ask school quarter. After the no fiano, Ewa, Mama,
ma ye nyina ye kwa secondary school na ke be ye dai na na batampa na na ke be kwa ye hu biom na na ye de wase ase ne ka jani ase da na na amo ahode ne kwatenti da fa bu ma no na na bra nye fa ne won pa nye fa yi wa mambi nye fa ne ka ba fo sheki nye fa nye fo nya jo mama aja ke jo mama ne ba e ba fe ni bi wuji school tuji agbo bi aneni ameke acha kemi na acha kemi gbege bi na me ba shi han ami fite gbege bi fite lowo pa fai ne wo go to wa jo mama ni jo mama ba ga ni jo mama ba so kwa ya le to to
na na do dankwa ekufuado ya da wase wate na na okukudrufo onyansani nana ya da wase wa be ye bi with the school free education o kan so wa ye efia bi wa school obi akwa secondary school wom enso nana wa ba be ye school for my friend efia kwa won di sradin ba ko enso ma won ka do kwa di sradin ba ko wa shankwale wo school nana na se ka udi wate ya mema wa hoden o ma won kwate
Chobe and this is Tomila Farmer ai Mahama no siajia banko do not do agala system am na me ve kolon conversiama mi drana no ponaga akaya akufa do vasia na me ve kolon ha mala takpone o kama sasam adwa sasam tamati bade Mahama na ga trova and the said na jaji ai Mahama la duama Mahama la siaja at hospitals school anu kata jijana mi mafupamo you dollar the one and the said the legend tamati Mahama na ga trova MPP o say yeah MPP to abano bia to make kufuadu na nyuma pa na obe oyanu no to aso no nya ne school kaya for no mun ko school no mun so mun nya school ni bia de no mun ko nda achen am so my president 3 ministers ne doctors for am man Ghana.
Looks like December 7 will be interesting, but built around water but with no water to drink. That is the story of Esilly, a small town in the western region. Hundreds of children spend hours fighting to fetch water every day. As part of the Joy News' Safe Water Project, Justice Beidou visited that community. Here's what he saw.
This is the Esilly Lagoon in the middle of the Esilly Township. It is this water resource that gives the livelihoods of many of the people here. A lot of them are fishermen and fishmongers.
Fasi, Esilly zabashiro aki.
This town sprang up around this water body. It was smaller than it is today, and we all lived by it. But as the village grew, some people moved to form the new town area. And that is how come there came a lot of pressure.
But there is an irony. This town, sitting around this water source, has no drinking water. And for years, the over 2,000 residents here struggle over a single run-down borehole.
Come on, as we are getting into the dry season, we are living in fear. No one knows what will happen. It is raining now, but we do not have water. The pipe we have here is old, and it is run down.
The scenes at the only borehole here at Esilly is a painful sight to watch.
I'm concerned even more for the school children. Some of them can spend hours at the pipe from dawn. They will struggle and spend school hours waiting to get water. We are even not productive because of the lack of water, because we spend all our time looking for water.
But at times, you may reach where there is a borehole, a Veronica bucket, but there is no water in it. Due to the crucial, because if you ask somebody to go and fetch water, and go and put it inside the Veronica bucket. It's a challenge thing. The person will be going there, standing there for a long time before you even get in the water, and then what? At times I have to let others move to where the old town mechanism bowl is.
Esilly is just one of many towns in Ghana still battling with a struggle for water. Justice Bedu, Joy News, Esilly.
Help has come to officers at the Kumasi Central Female Prisons after years of using just one washroom. About 124 officers had to endure the stench of using the facility despite the health implications. It's a different story now after the construction of additional washrooms for the female prison officers. Journalist Mohammed Nuruddin has more in the following report.
Indeed, music is a powerful therapy, especially when it is accompanied with good news, like an impatient man pressed by the call of nature, seeing a solution to his problem calls for a celebration.
Imagine about 124 officers using just one washroom. Now we have two, aside the one that is inside there. So we have a place in terms of our health and sanitation. This washroom will improve our sanitation and our health condition.
With just one washroom for 124 prison officers, it was most uncomfortable to wait for a stretch of time.
As at the time I took over, we were 124 officers using just one washroom, and even the condition. So just there I decided in my mind that if I cannot do anything, I should be able to provide a washroom, at least a decent one, because I have one at my office. I also have to think about my officers. If for matter of space, we cannot even have the washroom in the prison yard, at least we can have it outside.
Man shares his glory with him. So we give him the glory in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
But now help has come through the action of one woman who brought an end to this kind of suffering.
I do this because of Christ who lives in us. Christ expects us to love our neighbors as we have loved ourselves. So if Christ lives in us and we love ourselves, we should also love other people without looking at their status or whom they are or where they have come from. And I also realized that Ghanaians, we have an attitude. Immediately someone goes to the prisons, we tag the person as criminal, and we don't want to help. And if we will not help all these thousands of people, and they come out, those of us who think they are righteous, we are not safe. So it is better to contribute to help the inmates, so that in future, when they have the opportunity to come out, they will also exhibit the love other people have used to love them.
That the government is doing its part, but government alone cannot provide all the facilities for us. But we are appealing to individuals and corporate bodies to come and help us.
Mrs. Jackson facilitated the construction of the washroom at the Kumasi prisons.
Save specifically for prisons. When by God's grace we get any money, we make it our aim that prisons has a portion. So we
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
We'll take a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with business and sports.
Welcome back from that break. We've got some more business news for you tonight on Joy News Prime. We begin this segment with projections of a slight improvement in Ghana's economic growth with the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport to international flights and arrivals. According to economist Professor Peter Korte, growth could go beyond 0.9% projected by the government to about 1.5% of gross domestic product for this year. He cites the hospitality subsector, particularly hotels and conferences, as the biggest beneficiaries.
I'm being cautiously optimistic about this because we need to respect the health protocols as we open the airport. But if we do, then I think a lot of businesses would be stimulated. We would get a lot of imports and exports through the airport, which brings in revenue. And once we get revenue, certainly it's going to boost government activities. We also see the hospitality industry, tourism and the restaurants, the hotels, being in business. They employ people, they engage in economic activity. That certainly is going to affect the other subsectors. Agriculture, for instance, when hotels are operating, when the restaurants are operating, agricultural production will certainly have some demand. So it's certainly going to affect all the other key sectors, industry, electricity, water, and so on and so forth. So we're likely going to see an increase in aggregate demand. And the respective supply responses would also kick in. And certainly that is likely to affect our GDP positively. So again, I am cautiously optimistic that we may hit our 1.5% GDP growth rate instead of the 0.9% initially projected.
All right, so I am looking at it, I'd want us to look at it this way. Government is projecting 0.9%. Don't you think that government may have factored in the reopening of the airport into its 0.9% projection?
Yes, but I'm not sure government really plan to open at this time. It is the numbers that inform the decision. So at the time the projection was made, I'm not too sure that they knew for certain that they were going to open the airport at this point. But what I'm saying is there are multiplier effects. Once you open and you manage the pandemic very well, you manage the spread very well, you may have modest projections, but we are likely to have some multiplier effects which might be bigger than you initially anticipated.
So 500 million cedis, that's just how much the closure of the Kotoka International Airport cost the country. Here's the Joy Business Quick Take with the Aviation Minister, Joseph Kofi Ada.
We've shut the airport since March.
Correct.
That is huge. That will leave a huge revenue hole. How much of a hole is there since March?
Oh, it's been a big hole. It's been over 500 million cedis that we've experienced.
500 million cedis?
Yes, yes.
Over the period since March?
Yes.
That we've lost?
Yes. It's a lot. It's been a lot. We count all the passengers who would have paid their air passenger service charge. We count all the aircraft that would have paid for the landing fees and overflight fees and things like that. So all that has accumulated to quite a significant amount of money.
All right, so after 2 years of waiting, the National Food Buffer Stock Company has handed over the weighing scales to measure quantity of food to the Ministry of Education for onward distribution to various senior high schools. Nicholas Brown has more in the following report.
In handing over the weighing scales to the Ghana Education Service, Minister of Education Matthew Opoku-Prempeh commended the National Food Buffer Stock Company for their unflinching support to the free senior high school.
This is probably 3 years late, but like it is said, better late than never. One of the issues with free senior high school that makes it interesting is that food is supplied to the schools, and the schools use them. But you keep hearing complaints from one or two people that either the weight of food they brought was not up to the weight that is required to be supplied. We thank you, Buffer Stock, for that, for making sure the free SHS is happening. Because from the day one, we knew that what will collapse the free SHS is food items that will be bought for the schools that will be of bad quality or quantity. If we can handle those two things well, our students must be fed and fed well in the schools. And so far, so good. Buffer Stock, without Buffer Stock, this free SHS story would have been different. And we have to give credit to Hanan and all the operatives in the buffer stock company for living up to expectations, because I do recall that it's about quality, it's about quantity, it's about timeliness.
Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Opoku Amankwa, however, cautioned against the misuse of the skills at the various schools.
We also want to caution that we don't expect that both sides, both the suppliers and the heads, will have any opportunity to want to work together to misuse the facility. We will keep an eye on it and make sure that it is put to good use.
Chief Executive Officer of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Mr. Hanan Abdul Wahab, says the absence of the weighing scales caused problems for the key handlers of the free SHS policy.
It has really created a lot of problems for us in the past when there was no scale, like the Honorable Minister has indicated. In some cases, after delivery, a week or month after delivery, schools come out to complain that they have received underweight food, so which creates a lot of confusion in the minds of the key actors in this program. So I think what we are doing today is going to solve this problem once and for all.
Also, Professor Opoku Amankwa indicated that the presence of the weighing scales will bring uniformity with regards to the measurement of the quantity of food items.
Through discussions, it was agreed that we get scales for the schools, so that at least when you go to school A and you say you've taken 50 kilos of rice, we know that it is 50 kilos of rice. If you say that you've taken 10 kilos of maize or sugar, etc., we are certain that the exact quantities have been supplied. So that when we are also paying, or when buffer stock brings up the bill for us to pay, there wouldn't be any issue like in some schools they were undersupplied, in other schools they were oversupplied and things like that. So we think that is a very good thing to do.
The National Buffer Stock Company has finally, over 2 years of waiting, handed over the weighing scales to the Ghana Education Service for onward distribution to the various senior high schools. Reporting for Joy Business, Nicholas Brown, Cantonment, Accra.
Market crude oil having around $44 a barrel. Here's how we are ending trading tonight on the commodity market. It for business tonight. More news on our website myjoyonline.com/business, and we can always get interactive on our social media handles at Joy Business GH on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on your screen. That's it for business. My name is Daroko. Thanks for watching. Sports is up next.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. Gary Al Smith with the second bit of the sports. And after COVID, life must go on. So on Tuesday, the Ghana Football Association approved 71 million Ghana cedis for the next financial year. Randy Abe is a member of the Executive Council, and he says that generating the revenue to meet the budget for their expenditure is quite feasible.
Eyebrows were raised after the approval of the monthly allowances and other entitlements of GFA boss Keto Kreku, Vice President Mark Addo, and the rest of the Executive Council members. The emoluments recommended by a 3-man committee proposed that GFA President Keto Kreku should be given a monthly allowance of 12,000 Ghana cedis, 7,000 Ghana cedis for the Vice President, and 4,000 Ghana cedis for the rest of the Executive Council. Amongst those who disapproved the money was the owner of King Faisal Football Club, Alhaji Grusa, who stated publicly that the amount is outrageous. However, Executive Council member Randy Abe told Joy Sports that the ad hoc committee's recommendation is not out of place.
Why are people not even speaking to the fact that the last time we paid
ex gratia of $15,000 to each member. This particular ad hoc committee has scrapped that. So there's no longer the issue of ex gratia or $15,000 or whatever it is. You know, why are people also not focusing on that? That look, that has been taken away. You get what I'm saying? But for me, the most important thing is that for transparency, for accountability, for checks and balances, the framers of the statute realized that, look, it is wrong for the ESCO to determine its own allowances, approve same and appropriate same. And so, look, it must be given to Congress. I think it was a good idea. And it's good that it came here. People have freely expressed their views. The Congress has taken a decision. And that's it.
Another notable approval at the 26th Ordinary Congress was a budget of 71 million Ghana cedis for the next financial year. Randy Abe believes generating revenue to meet the budget is possible.
I would say that is largely feasible because it's also against the backdrop of a lot of dedicated funds that are going to come from FIFA. And so you would see that a lot of our capital expenditure is reliant on what we expect to get. And these are funds that you could call dedicated. And that constitutes about 37 or 38 million of the funding that we're receiving. So yes, it's realistic. And I'm even happy that, over 50% of the expenditure is going to CAPEX. Yes, I think that is good. That's investment. You know, that's investment. I would have been troubled if a lot of money was going into consumption. Yes.
The FA leadership called on other members of the association to help protect the initiatives of the FA.
There's also a slew of transfer activities across the world. Just an update, Manchester United have announced the signing of Donny van de Beek from Ajax Amsterdam, and it's one of the top ones as well. There'll be more on Fan Zone and also on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at JoySportsGH. Gary Al Smith here with the sport. Thank you for your time.
Segment. You've been following the conversation about violence leading up to the December 2020 elections. Colonel Festus Abuaji is a retired colonel. He says he fears that election day will be a day for violence, and he's been cautioning us to stop the violence now before it deteriorates. Let's check out your comments. 177 comments, 519 likes, 55 shares. Elizabeth Ahiabo says, I'm also having this feeling it wouldn't be a peaceful election. God bless our homeland, Ghana. And Efo says, when fellow Ghanaians keep arguing and fighting over which of the old men can develop the nation instead of how to work together to make our homeland a better place, president or no president, it won't be surprising should December 7 generate what we fear the most. Hans Ado says he's right. It may be violent to those who plan on starting violence in any form. The security forces are ready to deal with them fearlessly. Ghana stands for peace and no violence will be tolerated. And Martin Crow says, we have seen worse things than what we are seeing now, yet election day was calm. Ghanaians are not that dumb to do that, so keep your fears to yourself. No matter how these two parties behave pre-election, they have always had the supreme interest of the nation at heart during and after elections. And Joseph Ajeman says, all because of MPP NDC. In this case, why don't you vote these two parties out? Per some analysis, thought, investigation, imagination, both spiritually, physically, MPP NDC can never develop this country till thy kingdom come. Why? Because they serve party first before country Ghana, and it has never been done in none of the developed countries. The only way out is to vote for an independent presidential candidate. And those are some of your comments on Facebook. That's how we wrap up the interactive segment. More comments are on our Facebook page. You can go and read them for yourself. Also, that'll be it for the bulletin. For more news, log on to myjournline.com for all the updates. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. PM Express is happiness. Remember, Wednesdays, we are tracking manifestos. We're helping you to decide on which party to vote for come December 7. Stay on the Joy News channel. We're coming up with those analysis. You don't want to miss that.